Mark Bertig, good morning.
Good morning, Todd.
It's good to have you with us here today.
Good to see some rain. Keep the dust down.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Somebody just came in and said, Indiana County's our new slogan the county commissioners adopted, rain capital of the world. Forget that Christmas tree stuff. But I don't think it's quite that bad yet, but it's bad enough.
I want to know on the TV news why when they show rainfall yesterday as an example, and Indiana County's always missing off of the weather map. So there's got to be something wrong with the measuring points. Like, yesterday, 1.2 inches of rain here, 0.9 of an inch in this county, but Indiana County not registered. So somebody needs to check into that because it makes the county look bad.
That's right.
People think they're not getting any rain.
We refuse to acknowledge our rain is what it is.
Well, snow, it doesn't matter what.
Well, the reason I asked you to come and talk with us today is, number one, we had the postponement, and you had said, hey, if somebody ever postpones, I'll come on down and talk about this. This is, I'm looking at a wonderful map that shows the FMC Sports Complex and First Commonwealth Bank Field is what we typically think of when we regard that facility. But there's much, much more there, and some improvements that are not only coming but are ongoing right now. And I wanted to learn about those from you because I think that's one of the real, I don't know if it's secret, but it's one of the things that's flown under the radar a bit is how big of an economic generator that field has become.
Well, the field and just the complex overall, Todd, what you're referring to actually has been in the works for a couple of years, and tip of the baseball cap, if you will, to former State Representative Dave Reed and former State Senator Don White. They helped us in acquiring what's known as a Greenway Trails and Recreation Grant, and memory serves $237,000, and there's a match from the boosters Homer City Area Athletic Booster Organization. For listeners that don't know, has been around since 1958 as the primary recreation arm in the Homer Center School District. So we had, predating me, and I've been involved with that organization, a nonprofit organization, since the 80s. The complex, which is 52 acres, really it started out as one Little League field, and then grew to two Little League fields, and then a Junior Legion field, and then an expanded Junior Legion field with lights, which is now First Commonwealth Bank Field, two softball fields, a football practice field. So the first thing that became, through the years, antiquated was the water service coming in. Yeah. Plus, we have a couple of sizable buildings down there, with no fire hydrant close. So one of the big parts of the grant was to get new water line system run down into the complex. We had leaks. We were getting water bills. Like, how could we be going through this much water in February? So we got that done. Of course, our engineer that we have to use because of the grant, Young and Associates, they go through the bidding process and the whole 9 yards. It's pretty complex what goes on. And so many people probably don't even realize, including members of the Boosters organization, that there's brand new water service down all through that complex, and there is now a fire hydrant, which also would serve our neighbors well. We have some neighbors back on Holiday Lane that could now benefit from that hydrant, and near us on the Route 119 side. So that was one of the big phases. What you have in your hand is parking lot improvements, and the good news is that has been bid out actually a couple of times, and the winning bidder, East American, which is a division of Force Incorporated, they were going to mobilize, as they say in their business, this week. Yeah. But we found out they don't have rowboats and no
geodesic domes they could put up over the whole complex so they could do the work.
So they did. Needless to say, the mobilization has been postponed and rained out. So hopefully next week they're going to start a parking lot project that will give us. You've been there on busy nights. It's a mess. People are parking in the fields. It's muddy. It's just not good. There's no definition to it. What you have in your hand that you can't obviously hold up to the microphone, but maybe we could post on our site, is 3 distinct lanes of parking that'll each hold 80 to 90 cars. And on any given night, we may have 2 Little League games, a game on the big field, 2 softball games.
Yeah.
Next to the school district, there's no place in Center Township or the Homer City Borough that attracts more traffic and more cars.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a big, big improvement.
Well, one of the things about the complex as a whole, and First Commonwealth Bank Field in particular, is it has attracted not only the Junior Legion Regionals, but the state tournament, which will be coming again this year. And it also gets a lot of PIAA consideration when it comes to state playoffs.
We did talk to the PIAA office. We love, I don't know why, but we love hosting bigger events there. It's a lot of time and commitment. It's all volunteer work. But it's kind of a feather in the baseball cap to host those kind of games. And Mark Byers from the PIAA office in Mechanicsburg has gotten good reports of the way we host things through the years. So, yeah, we're hoping, with 6 classifications that when the state tournament starts next week, that they will give us consideration. Last year, we actually had to turn a couple of games down because everybody, including myself, wanted to go watch the hometown Wildcats. So we did not have any games. And this year, and in future years, they have selected First Commonwealth Bank Field as the site for the Heritage Conference game. Yeah. So that brings a lot of people into the area. And we had a huge crowd that night. And, of course, ancillary for the Boosters Club, the concession stand did several $100s worth of business. So that helps out the general fund because that organization, through the years, what has gone on, again, maybe a well-kept secret, but it's 12 months, 52 weeks a year with T-ball, Little League, machine pitch, midget football, basketball.
One of the things that you just sort of glossed over. Well, I don't want to put it that way. One of the things that you mentioned that we need to spend more time on is the fact that, you said we've got this field with this field, we've got a couple of buildings. It took an awful lot to get those buildings, to get those fields to the pristine condition in which they are right now. There are some wonderful, tremendous hard workers in that organization.
Well, think, 1958, the many volunteers that have their fingerprints on that complex and the growth. I mean, way too many for me to even think about. The boosters have like what's called a lifetime lifetime member role, where if you have 10 consecutive years of doing good things, that you could be nominated and inducted into their quote unquote Hall of Fame, if you will. And there are a lot of great people, some of them which have passed, that have made major, contributions to the recreation that goes on in the school district. This Saturday, finally, the big press box building that we get a lot of reviews, and down below there's restrooms and concession stand, et cetera, and the main entrance tunnel cuts through it to the big field, First Commonwealth Field. I probably shouldn't admit this, but for far too long we've been without egress from the upper floor. So now not only are we going to have egress, we're going to have a deck that spans the entire width of the building. Maybe we could have the Todd Marino party deck for the state tournament.
There you go.
But so that's going to be another major improvement to the big field, not to mention a safety issue finally solved thanks to this grant. I want to mention Byron Stauffer, too, from the Indiana County Center for Economic Development. He, too, played an integral role in helping us to obtain the grant, and worked with me through the processes and all the paperwork, and was a great guiding force actually leading up to us gaining approval for the grant, and then helping me with the first couple of submissions to the state. Not exactly easy. And Josh James and Brent Young at Young & Associates, the engineers, have done great work.
It is a wonderful complex. It continues to bring business into Indiana County and into Center Township, and it's such a great benefit to have men and women who are so dedicated to it. They're the ones that make it happen.
Yeah, Saturday I mentioned they're going to start construction on the deck. The supplies were delivered, and Lezer Lumber, I believe, got the bid on that. And the Indiana Armstrong Builders Association last year voted and agreed to provide some in-kind labor, which of course, saves on the expense end of the grant. And just a quick shout out to Dawn and Denny Mester. I think you know them pretty well.
Yeah.
And Chris Graham, who kind of have always rolled up their sleeves with me on some of these ventures. Sometimes we think we're all a bit crazy, but it's all for a good cause, right? And it pleases us when we hear things like from a Sanzo's or from a restaurant in Homer City that, boy, that tournament, we gained a lot of business from that. So that's what it's all about, too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole community building thing, and you've done a great job down there. And so a big salute to everybody with the Homer City Area Athletic Boosters.
Thank you, Todd. Hopefully I was a good pinch hitter.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Pinch hitter's a good term, right?
For
the subject matter.
Yeah, well, you're a bullpen arm right now. You're
not a very good
one. Well, you'd fit right in with the Pittsburgh team then. Thank you, Mark. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS AM 1160, 101.1 FM.